You ever have one of those mornings where everything feels calm? Too calm, right before the world decides to flip upside down. That was me, coffee in hand, walking out to my deck ready to enjoy the sound of the waves. Except, the sound I heard wasn't waves. It was music. Loud thumping, bass-shaking music. Then came laughter shouts, the crack of a beer can. And when I looked down, I almost dropped my mug. There were tents, coolers, kids running around. Someone was manning a grill like he owned the place. My beach, my private beach, had turned into a full-blown party zone overnight. For a few seconds, I thought maybe I'd lost my mind. Maybe I was still dreaming. But no, this was real. That stretch of sand, those dunes, that line of faded fencing, it was all mine. I bought it, paid for it, renovated the old cabin with my own 2 hands. And now 50 strangers were having a summer festival on my property like it was a public park. At the center of it all stood Angela Monroe, the HOA president of Silver Shores. I knew that woman's face all too well. Bright blonde hair, neon pink blazer, and that smile that never reached her eyes. She was holding a clipboard like it was a crown. I stormed down the hill, kicking up sand, dodging kids with beach balls. "Angela," I said, trying to stay calm. "What the hell is this?" She turned, gave me that fake sugary grin. "David." "Oh, it's our annual HOA summer kickoff. Didn't you get the memo?" I blinked at her. "Memo? You mean the one you didn't send me?" "Angela, this is my property. You're trespassing." Her smile didn't even falter. "Oh, that's a misunderstanding. This beach has always been for the community. Ask anyone." I laughed out loud because surely she was joking. "Community. I bought this land fair and square. I checked every inch of paperwork before I signed anything. This isn't HOA property." She tilted her head, mocking me. "Well, then call the cops. My husband's on the city council, so good luck." That's when I realized I wasn't just dealing with arrogance, I was dealing with power. The kind of smug power that thinks rules are for everyone else. I walked back to the cabin, hands shaking with rage, and dug through my files. Deed maps, tax records, everything. When I called the police, the dispatcher sounded surprised but sent a car. By the time the officers arrived, Angela was already spinning her story, telling them I'd harassed her guests and disturbed a peaceful community gathering. But when the sergeant looked through my papers, he just nodded. "Mr. Keller, you're in the right. Ma'am, you and your group need to leave the property immediately." Angela's face twisted like she'd swallowed something sour. Still, she gathered her troops and stomped off, muttering about outsiders ruining traditions. I thought that was the end of it. God, I was so wrong. The next morning I found a letter taped to my door, official HOA letterhead. Cease and desist illegal seizure of community property. They accused me of claiming land that didn't belong to me. Flyers appeared around town calling me the selfish newcomer destroying Silver Shores. People stopped waving when I passed. Some even whispered when I went into the grocery store. Then came the violation notices, unmowed grass, unapproved fence height, improper waste bins. I wasn't even part of the HOA, but that didn't stop them. And one night around midnight, my water line got cut. I stood outside with a flashlight, mud up to my knees, thinking, this is insane. I started doubting myself. What if I'd missed something in the contract? What if the beach really had been part of the community way back when I hadn't slept properly in days? I didn't feel safe in my own home anymore. A few mornings later, I looked out and saw Angela again, this time with 2 men hammering stakes into the sand. They were putting up a huge wooden sign, future site of Silver Shores Community Pavilion. I walked up slowly, trying not to explode. "You got a permit for that?" I asked. One of her guys wearing a golf shirt and a smirk said, "Take it up with the HOA champ." That was the moment I snapped. I realized if I didn't stand my ground now, I'd lose everything. I called a lawyer. Her name was Melissa Ray, a sharp, unshakable woman who'd made a name tearing through shady HOAs. She came over, reviewed everything, and said, "David, you've got a solid case. But I need you to brace yourself. These people play dirty." We sent a cease and desist letter. Angela ignored it. Instead, she and her cronies doubled down. They ripped out my private property signs, tore sections of my fence apart, even laughed into my cameras while doing it. And that's when the turning point came. One night around 2 a.m., my security camera caught Angela herself on video, bolt cutters in hand, directing two men as they dragged my fence posts out of the ground. She was smiling, laughing, waving her hand like a queen giving orders. Melissa watched the footage and grinned. "You just won the lottery, David." A week later, a court summons arrived. Angela and the HOA were suing me. They claimed my deed was invalid, that the beach had always been HOA land. It was ridiculous, but part of me panicked. What if their influence really could bend the system? The hearing date came fast. The whole community packed into that courthouse. You'd think it was a celebrity trial. Angela strutted in wearing another neon suit, surrounded by her lawyers like bodyguards. I could feel every eye in the room on me, the troublemaker, the outsider. Melissa leaned over and whispered, "Stay calm. Let them dig their own grave." The HOA's lawyers presented a historical map claiming the beach was community property. Melissa's eyes lit up like Christmas. When it was our turn, she pulled out the original deed tax receipts, the surveyor's report, everything airtight. Then she asked to cross-examine their expert. Turns out their map had been doctored, digitally altered after I bought the land. Melissa got the HOA's own surveyor to admit it on record. Angela's face turned red. Then came the moment Melissa dropped the hammer. She played the footage, the video of Angela cutting through my fence. The sound filled the courtroom. Angela's voice was unmistakable, laughing, saying, "Get rid of that ugly thing. No one owns the beach anyway." The room went silent. You could hear whispers spreading like wildfire. Angela tried to recover. "That's taken out of context," she said. Melissa didn't flinch. "Context. You're trespassing and vandalizing private property." Ms. Monroe. When Angela took the stand, she fell apart. She contradicted herself 3 times in 5 minutes. At one point she blurted, "Maybe I don't have proof, but everyone knows this beach belongs to Silver Shores." The judge leaned forward, expression flat. "What I know, Ms. Monroe, is that this court deals in facts, not gossip." By the time the verdict came, Angela wouldn't even look up. The judge ruled in my favor completely, decisively. The HOA's lawsuit was declared malicious. They were ordered to pay $4 million in damages, plus another $50,000 personally from Angela. The judge even referred her for possible criminal charges. The sound of that gavel hit like thunder. Angela's empire crumbled in real time. Her lawyers were whispering. Her face went blank. She resigned from the HOA that afternoon, and by the end of the week, the board had disbanded half its leadership. I didn't celebrate. I didn't even smile. I just walked home, stood on my deck, and looked out at the same sand where this whole nightmare started. It was quiet again, the kind of quiet that feels earned. People who once glared at me started showing up with apology notes, even cookies. The local news called me the man who beat the HOA. I didn't care about that. All I wanted was peace, the kind I'd tried to protect from the beginning. Sometimes I still hear Angela's voice in my head, that fake sweet tone trying to twist right into me. And I remind myself this isn't about ego or victory. It's about boundaries. Because if you don't stand up for what's yours, someone like her will walk right over you, smiling while they do it.